All right. Make sure the camera's rolling. Double check that. All right, now we can really do this. So let's talk a little bit about today's workout. It is January 20, it's not the 20th. It's January 8th. I got my little notebook right here. And I'm gonna walk down what we went through today. You guys will see the clips, the full breakdown, well, at least the short breakdowns on Instagram. You guys can check out this full breakdown here. So I've been dealing with a little bit of a hip issue. Now, I think it might be more of my low back than my hip. This happens every now and then. Something gets tight, whether it's I'm sleeping or just being older than I used to be. It doesn't bother me too much, but it's one of those things where if I don't proactively do something for it, it probably can and might get a little worse. I think it actually happened because when I jump off my left foot, my right leg is my trail leg, and I get this big extended, lengthened position when I step. So my left leg, my right leg gets a big stretch before like that knee comes up to jump. And maybe repeated efforts of that happened, or maybe my foot got caught weird. I don't know. I'm not here to try and figure out why it happened, but some things that do help it is just like a glute activation series. So I started off on the bench, kind of in a reverse hyper position, and letting my low back roll into flexion, then into extension, and then I drive up, squeezing my glutes and my hamstrings. Again, trying to synergistically go into that extension. So on my back, I'll do a bit of that with no load, just like a reverse hyper. And then I'll do one where I'm laying down, I'm just lifting my leg up. So I'm on my back now, my stomach is in the air, still laying on my back, but then lifting my knee up. So the first example, reverse hyper on my stomach, rolling into flexion. My feet are hanging off the edge, then back up into extension. So the glutes, the back of my posterior chain, and then my anterior chain, my front, my hip flexors, where my back is on the bench, and my stomach is in the air, and my feet are still hanging off, but now I'm lifting upward. So a series like that. Reps, sets, and weight. It's basically just about getting blood flow to the area, some activation. So I don't count reps. I have a feel of how it's trying to be, or what I want it to be, and that's what I aim for. I don't do number of sets and reps for that kind of stuff. Higher reps normally if it's too heavy, I can't do that many reps. That's not going to be good activation. So kind of maybe 12 to 15 reps, all based on feel. After that, I move into a movement series with this jump kind of hurdle. How to describe it? I call it a homemade hurdle. It's not totally a hurdle system. So I have a rope I carry in my backpack. I bought this rope just at the store. I don't know where I bought it from, a store or something. It's just like 10 foot of rope, really small rope. Now I call it rope, like something, I don't know, whatever. It's not the point. You'll see it in the video. Small little rope thing that you can tie around. Maybe in this example, it's 2 volleyball stanchions and 2 volleyball posts, I should say. And I can jump over it, step over it, change the height. It's like a hurdle on the go, a portable hurdle system. What's cool about this, I didn't do in this video, but you can change the angle so you can like have an incline or a decline on your movements. And what's nice is I have it set up like a hurdle, so I do some step overs for my hips, then I do some jumps with it. And as I get warmed up, I can do different jumps and just change the height of it by pulling it up or down the volleyball poles, right? So if you had 2 volleyball courts set up, which I have in the video, I'm trying to play basketball with a side hoop. So there's 2 volleyball courts set up, and in the middle at half court, there's a gap because one volleyball court's on one half court and the other volleyball court's on the other half court. And then I have this rope tied to those 2 volleyball posts that are not connected to each other because they're separate courts, but it runs across it. So in that half court gap, I have set up a rope and I can jump over it back and forth. It's really fun. It's a great way to have a hurdle on the go. It kind of makes it exciting and enjoyable. You're not carrying equipment with you, but it's better than just trying to run in place or trying to jump over something. And while dunking a basketball is fun and that is enjoyable, it's a little bit of a mental effort to do it because you go up and jump every time, and it doesn't take a little bit of effort to jump. I can't just kind of jump 60% and dunk a basketball, but I can jump 60% on a low rope or low hurdle and get over it just fine. And so it's a nice way to warm up and progressively make it more intense. And you can challenge yourself jumping from distance over a certain height, or maybe make it higher and have a shorter takeoff distance. You can play with how you want to do it. but allows for creativity and some fun. So you get your jumps and you get high outputs, and it's a nice means to introduce. Whenever I train, I want to make sure, let's take a step back. I want to make sure I have new things to do, but not different things to do. So I'm trying to do more single foot jumping. So this is a nice way to introduce something new that's not different. It's still a single leg jump. I could introduce something new that is different, like I could go swimming, but that's not gonna help me in my single leg jump. I need to do something that's new, but not different in the sense it's still stimulating the right pathways for adaptation. If I want to get better at 1 foot jumping, I need things that challenge my 1 foot jumping. And maybe jumping at the hoop over and over again isn't very exciting and entertaining. If you're not engaged to actually do your jumping, you're going to have lower effective outputs. And so if I can be excited to actually perform these jumps, then it makes life way easier. So do something new, but not different. And then from there, I went into some 2 foot jumping on the hoop. I've been messing with my 2 foot approach. So when I dunk a basketball, I've practiced dunking for so long, not really that long, but I've practiced jumping with no defenders. And so I do this thing where I dribble and I cast the ball out. I'll like push it out in front of me, and then I'll run under the ball and then go up and dunk it. So basically, it's still not a travel, no ref would ever call it. But instead of like taking the extra dribble to dribble into it and pound, dribble and dunk it, which you would do if there's a defender playing against you, it's kind of like a lazy way to throw the ball out in front. And you can jump higher with it a little bit, but it's just easier technique-wise. And I started doing that, and then I realized, why am I doing this? It can help me jump high, sure, but it's not actually translatable to the court. So I've been working on 2 different kind of 2 foot jumps. I've been working on one with that little short pound dribble. If you watch like Ja Morant, Russell Westbrook, most guys in the NBA, they do that dribble where they're coming down the hoop, and instead of casting it out and then taking your penultimate step and getting really long and then going under the ball, they dribble into their penultimate step. And the other one's kind of like this cross step, hop step 1-2, where if I'm driving right on the right side and I want to go off 2 foot on a right-left jump, I'll jump and I'll cast my right foot out in front and then my left foot. So it's like this 1-2 kind of hop step situation. I think I described that correctly. So both are kind of different. And maybe do different jump. You're not going to not develop jumping skills by doing it. Even though you don't jump as high because you're technically not as proficient, it's still a great way to build some robustness in your jumping, and you still try your hardest. So I've been trying to work on those 2 quite a bit. And for the most part, I aim to try and, since I've gotten older, and a little more well-versed at this, I try and listen to my body. I might aim for I want to do 20 jumps or 40 jumps. But I've noticed that if I get bored with a certain jump and it requires a more and more mental effort, the more likely I am to have aches and pains. I don't know why that is, if it's internalized and I'm just thinking about it too much. But for some reason, if I just do something that I enjoy and I have fun doing, I don't think about sets and reps as much, and I still will get the total volume I want. But I also have variability, and with variability comes the less likelihood of having complications with maybe tendinitises or aches and pains. It seems like if I do the same jump over and over again, I'm going to get those aches and pains. And after those jumps, I kind of hit a point where I felt pretty good, and I got kind of tired, so I stopped dunking a basketball, and I did some repeat hurdle jumps off 1 foot, going up and over that rope hurdle setup, just for some volume and some prep to keep, again, I'm trying to have more loading. And when I go through this stage, I'm going to be doing a lot more loading jump-wise and intensity-wise in my body. Maybe not total volume, but maybe the intensity multiplied by the volume is going to be higher. And in doing such, I'm going to have some fatigue come up. I need to remember that as I do this, because fatigue is super normal. You're going to have fatigue, and you're going to be tired. And if you don't have contextualized fatigue, you just kind of show up and you're tired one day, you're going to doubt your training, doubt your programming. But if you know you're going to get tired and you get tired on certain days, it can help you stick with the process. So having some contextual awareness is super helpful. And in the weight room, I did some of the athlete team training, and so I did about 4 sets of 5 to 6 reps on accelerated kettlebell swings, letting the band pull you down faster than gravity would and exploding back up against the band and kettlebell. And when you do this, we're focusing on high levels of eccentric loading, so high levels of downward velocity and fighting against that velocity. Now, I didn't mention, but before that, I did do some depth jumps off of a volleyball like ref stand, so it's pretty high. And that's the same concept, high impact, high velocity loading. That's on the quads per se, more vertical. And then the kettlebell swings are more hinge dominant, working on my glutes and some of my adductors, driving in from flexion into extension. After that, I did some trap bar work, and I call these power trap bar shrug pulls. It was supposed to be front squats. I didn't want to do front squats. I want to do trap bar shrug pulls. But these are power pulls. What I mean by power is that you go to a point where you can still basically jump with the weight, but it's not so light you're jumping high and so heavy that the jump becomes not really a jump at all. It's basically, if I were to describe it, accelerating my old Nissan Altima. You're still going fast. You're not really going that fast, but you're not going slow. And so it's right at the brink of being slow, but it's still in the realm of being powerful. It's the slowest fast thing you could do. How about that? And I like those because I can still exert lots of effort into it. It does have a strength stimulus associated with it because it's heavier. And it's not as tiring if I were to just do something really heavy, but it's not as like non-existent loading if I were to do something really light. So the time under tension is still adequate, but I'm trying to produce lots of force and accelerate the weight. Now, if you think about, if you've been familiar with any sports science and training, you might hear the term like accelerative strength, the ability to produce force once you get something moving. That's the idea behind it. I just use it as a means for big motor unit recruitment. I'm trying as hard as I can. The motor units in my muscles are talking, they're talking at the highest rate they possibly can, the highest output, and we're driving against that. After that, I did some light conditioning where I threw a Frisbee out and ran under it. I love this conditioning of the Frisbee. I throw the Frisbee out, I run. I probably look ridiculous if you're watching me from above. This guy playing with a Frisbee by himself. But I don't like running, and when I run, I like some variability, and I like the ability to change pace, accelerate, decelerate. And yeah, you can do that by yourself, just run around and slow down, speed up, slow down, speed up. Sure, why not? If you throw a Frisbee, you're naturally going to do it. You're going to speed up because you didn't run as fast. There's a hand-eye coordination aspect of it. You're moving because the Frisbee's moving. It's just so much more fun than running in a straight line. I did about, I don't know how many yards, a couple. Did I get 1,000 yards? No, probably 600 yards, maybe a little more than that total. But again, it's fun, so you keep doing it over and over again. It's really easy to get a lot of yardage on accident. And at the end of all that, I did my isometrics for my knees. Took care of that. Basically 3 to 4 sets, 45 seconds at an intensity that makes you work at the 45-second mark. I did that with knee extensions today. I like to do that for my tissue prep. That allows me to keep doing these kind of jumps and movements at a higher pace. That's basically wraps up the whatever day it is, January 8th. Is that what I said it was? January 8th training day. I want to give you guys some more details on it because you guys follow me and you guys enjoy my workouts. And then I feel some obligation to give you more info beyond the 59-second videos that I produce on Instagram. So I appreciate you guys as always. If you guys have questions or comments, let me know. Hopefully we can do more of these in the future. I'll probably try and do as many of these as I can, time permitting. And maybe in the future have some guests as we kind of build this out. And as always, thank you. I hope you enjoy. Just trying to fight father time and be a little less unathletic along the way. And maybe you guys might want it too. So appreciate y'all and take care.